We've met quite frequently recently, so what we are going to spend our time tonight doing instead is having Mrs. Story kind of talk to us about our McKinney-Vento plan that's going to be sent to the state. So she just wants to kind of give you some information on that so that you can look it over, maybe have any feedback, but we do need to approve this. We hope to approve it by the next school board meeting. So we'd love to have any feedback that you have on our plan after she discusses it.
So you already have in front of you our Beech Grove City Schools McKinney-Vento District Plan. This is something that's new to our district, and basically when you hear the words McKinney-Vento, this was established in 1987 by Ronald Reagan to address the needs of our homeless students and to make sure that we have expectations for ensuring equality to meet the educational needs of our students. An interesting fact is we were audited by the Department of Ed, and the good news is we were meeting the needs of our students. The bad news is they said you need to have a stricter policy for verifying and monitoring the students and families who are labeled as McKinney-Vento, because our number had grown by almost 3 times. So we currently service 91 McKinney-Vento students as of today. And so McKinney-Vento, when you hear the term homeless, if you look on page 3, there's a extensive list that gives specific definitions of what would qualify a student and or a family as McKinney-Vento. And we have almost every situation here in this district that's listed on that. That's listed on family, children living in shelters, wards of the state, foster care, and unfortunately, it's at all grade levels, K through 12. So we've created a district plan. It's a very thorough plan. It's been approved by the Department of Education. And I'd like you guys to take a look at it before our next school board meeting. Give any feedback, any questions, you can email me and I'll answer it. I made references to the McKinney-Vento law so that if you wanted to pull up a code, you could take a look at that. But we're going to continue to service our children. That's the biggest thing, to make sure that when our kids come here, they are well taken care of, and that we are the consistency and the stability and the support that they're not getting outside of the school setting. So that's it, unless you guys have any questions.
Much of our funding to support these programs are through our Title I grant. We have money set aside to transport children, to pay for busing, gasoline, and if one of these childs that qualifies for McKinney-Vento needs glasses, we have money set aside for that. So that's part of the requirements for Title I now, is that you have to have money set aside for that funding through this. So we do have quite a few kids. I think there's approximately 28 that we transport.
Outside of the district.
Right.
That number has decreased significantly, and that's the good thing about our monitoring and our verification process. It costs us quite a bit of money to provide transportation outside of the district. We have a great transportation department, but that number is down considerably, the transportation that we're providing out of district because of home visits, things like that. We're checking that.
How do we target those? I mean, obviously the ones that speak up and say we're homeless and we need assistance, but how do we have a questioning process?
It's a registration form, but I myself called over 126 families, which took a long time to get done at the beginning of the year, because we weren't sure. And so you have to dig. You have to dig because they don't want to tell you.
Right, because they feel
it's embarrassing. We're
exactly.
a blue-collar community, so it's embarrassing to talk about it. But I want to assure you that nobody knows. A child goes up, puts in their code, just like any other child, you would not know that they're receiving free or reduced textbooks or food, or free. We send a Beech Grove bus to pick up our children out of district. They are not singled out, and that's very important. We're very, very considerate of that. Because at school, they're not homeless. At school, they're treated just like everyone else.
This is kind of a holding place. If you come here in the morning, we'll go out and pick up Southborough kids and middle school kids, and we have a bus monitor that stays school, we can house them and hold them. And Marion, we had a group that, family that lived here, was homeless, moved to Lawrence Township in a hotel. They never told us that they got housing up there, because they sure wanted us to come here. So we were picking a family up, even though they had a house in Lawrence Township.
They were dropping them off.
And they were dropping them off at the hotel, so we'd still pick them up because they still wanted to come here. But that was so unfair to those kids, because one, they had to get there early, and two, they had to stay late. Whereas now they're in Lawrence Township, and the bus will pick them up to their house.
Do they really play cards here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We have I just got a new game on clearance at Walgreens.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
emoji,
the
it's
games that-
emoji Uno. It
We
is
feed
so
them.
much fun.
Yeah, we feed our children too, because they're not, it's, when our little ones eat at 10 o'clock in
Right.
the morning, you know, they don't get home till 5.
But the
6
emoji
o'clock.
Uno
We feed
is
them,
really
we
a
give
lot of
them
fun.
games. It's not a hold, we do hold them here, but we love them like we would.
Okay.
Like, I mean, we treat them very, very well, and I do want to tell you, we have families, I had to down, like, you hear things in the community, teachers hear things. I called a mother who didn't want to talk to me, she was afraid I was gonna call CPS. She was like, are you gonna call CPS? I was like, ma'am, unless I know something's wrong. It was a high school mother, she was dropping her kids off at 6 o'clock every morning at Burger King, and not picking them up till 9 o'clock at night. Escaping a domestic situation, she thought her husband was going to, had called CPS, so we arranged for transportation, so her kids weren't sitting at Burger King for 14 hours.
If I can find another one, I'll get it. This is fun. And they like looking at, the new pictures rather than the traditional Uno. Okay.
Anything you want to donate to kids?
What's the farthest that we have to go to pick up somebody?
I'm pretty strict about that, so, I don't think we transfer anybody now more than 15, 20 minutes away.
Okay.
But, so, I do a lot of home visits, and then also, I will offer them, we'll reimburse you. And then when they figure out, I'll say it's too far for us, we just can't, we'll reimburse you, which is something we can do to the state. Several of them just leave. They go to their home district.
Yeah, a lot of them, I mean, there's no reason why this kid should go to their own district.
Right.
It's much easier. It's kind of like, we're gonna talk about attendance at transfer students. It's great to come here, but if you're not getting your kids here, and it's such a hardship on these kids to be here, but the parents wanna keep them here, in many cases hoping to get back. And so, it's a real family,
Yeah, and the law supports them going to the school where they became homeless, because you don't want a child to go through transition after transition. The hope is that they can stay and become, be able to support themselves and get a more permanent residence and get back to the district. But at some point, as the liaison for the district, she has to make some tough decisions and say, in the best interest of the child, they need to enroll in their school of legal settlement. But,
It was
yeah.
rough, I mean, I had some really, really, really bad days, like I would say to Liz, I don't even know, I'm so depressed. Because when you live it, seeing what these kids are living in, and when you go to a home visit and you're like, this house should be abandoned. And it's hard, because this is the reality of so many of our kids. But they're happy here, they're safe here.
So
And
do
that's
we
the-
get, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do we get a grant or something to help us fund, like paying for their glasses or anything like that? Do we
Yeah,
get grants?
Title
for
I.
that? Oh, just Title I?
So part of our Title I.
No additional?
No.
Okay.
So part of our and obviously Title I could go towards other things, but the state says that you have to, and the federal government says you have to designate part of your Title I funds to
To
McKinney-Vento
that.
kids.
Got you.
So you
Okay.
have to have funds available to help them for transportation. Like she said, we could say we can't transport you, but if you can drive them, we'll reimburse you to drive your child. It pays for glasses, clothing, food, maybe extra supplies they need. So if and she has designated representatives at each building throughout the district to look for these. Some of our counselors and different people who, are able to recognize kids that may be in that transition, and then they communicate directly with Mary, and then she kind of follows up. So.
Most of our students, majority of our McKinney-Vento students are Beach Grove children who are wards of the state, living in doubled up situations because they've lost housing due to job loss. Foster care I usually don't, because that's so traumatic. If it's more than 15 minutes away, I usually don't fight that. Just provide transportation. But it's trauma.
gotta be hard for you, but I hope that you really do remember the good things that you're doing for those people.
I would never stop doing it, but it is, there are like, every single parent has my cell phone number. I get phone calls at 10:30, we're sitting in our car, we're staying in our car tonight, and then I try to find them something, but the only way, they all have my cell phone number, my personal cell phone number to call all of our homeless kids. But it's worth it, because, and they love this district too, let me tell you, they're like, guys, you don't even know. People love this district, they love it, so that's why you do it. They love the teachers, they love everything about this district. So we'll do what we have to.
The
Your personality.
compassion that we care
That's it.
without treating them any differently goes a long, long way.
Your personality is perfect for it, because you have to be up here, because if you were here and then you had to deal with that kind of stuff, it would sink you
Yeah.
easily.
I don't know how our bus drivers do it, guys. I don't know, they have to put these little ones who have to drive our, I don't know, like they deserve medals. Our SIT bus drivers for students in transitions, every day, they end and they begin their day with these little ones who they know are just not in good places.
Like you
Mary.
said, they're safe here.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are, safe here.
So that's all we have tonight for the curriculum update, so thank you, everybody.
I don't know, for some reason, was there a video out about that at one time?
McKinney-Vento?
Or has it just been in my brain as McKinney video?
Well, one of the things that we do is, it is required to provide professional development for all of our staff. So all of our staff members go through a McKinney-Vento video, that's part of the
Okay.
Safe
See,
Schools
it's been in
training.
my brain as McKinney-Vento video.
Right.
I'm gonna have to say how,
We also do district trainings for our building liaison.
I guess, thank you for educating me, us. But on the other hand, that's a good thing, maybe that we don't necessarily know as much about it as we think we
We
should.
don't really want you to know. Our teachers, for the first time this year, we informed them who was homeless in their classroom.
Right, because it
We
is a
really
part of
don't
that,
want anybody to know.
it's a part of the social emotional key.
But it helps them relate and understand.
Right. And we want the teachers to know,
Behavior.
and EIAs who work directly, the nurses, things like that. But if you don't have a McKinney-Vento child, you wouldn't know. We've had several teachers say, why are we watching this? Do we actually have McKinney-Vento homeless children? Because they don't know, because they don't have them in their actual classrooms.
It makes a difference for those kids, though.
It definitely does.
Thank you.
I'll just do the highlights. I hope that you saw the news story about Hornet Park's wonderful learning garden and all that Mrs. Bennett is doing with our kids. It was really great. It aired on September 26th, and I know I sent you the video clip too, but it was a really neat story. The one little girl that talked so much was one of our student of the month previous, so she was adorable. Emily Kinzer, who has been a great friend of ours on Channel 8 reporter, she also, she actually is a resident homeowner in Beech Grove too, and she has agreed to be on our strategic planning committee, which I think will bring a nice flavor, not only the media, but a young professional who has recently moved into Beech Grove. So I thought that was very exciting that she'll be serving. Of course, I continue to actively solicit television stations and papers to talk about our positive stories. Wanted you to know the Hornet Blast we publish in its full form that first week of fall break, and then probably an abbreviated form the second week, but it will continue during fall break. Parents seem to ask for it. They kind of look at that as reminders, so I just go ahead and continue it during breaks. For Education Foundation, the FFA received a $5,000 donation from Dow that went through. I actually did the grant applications and certifications because we are the fiscal agent for that particular grant. That's who they wanted to go through, so that's why I had some involvement there. Over $1,000 in memorial donations have been sent in for Mr. Thompson, in memory of Mr. Tommy Thompson. And then that is in addition to the $10,000 bequest that he left. I am in conversation with his daughter and his wife to look at what is appropriate to do as far as maybe a scholarship. So that's what we're looking at right now. I'm gonna suggest to them, maybe it's a Tommy Thompson Scholar that we follow that person all 4 years and get them something, kinda like the BI scholarship does. It might have more impact on our kids than just a one-time, 1-year, gift. So, we're talking about that. And then it's that time of the year for us, because my fiscal year ends June 30th, that I am working with our accountant to do our 990 tax return. And that's always lots of fun. So, that's what I'm involved in right now.
That's all?
That's
Just
it.
kidding. Kidding.
The rest of the time, I'm twiddling.
When is the next strategic planning meeting? October the?
24th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on page 3.
Okay, let's move on to minutes. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes for September 12th, the regular meeting and the work session?
So moved.
Beth? Thank you.
I'll second.
Janice? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't think we have any public comment on the agenda, so let's move on to our business update. Keely, do you want to discuss anything, or do you want us to go ahead to the motion?
Well, budget hearing happened in September, and there weren't really too many questions between then and today. And so it was published today, consideration for approval of the budget. Along with that are all those motions you can do in one fell swoop. And those resolutions really help us in the business office just to balance funds, and you'll see a lot of those things when you get the business update and the cash flow analysis the first of every month. So that authorizes the business office to do those actions. So that's the first part.
Perfect. Let's just go ahead and start with the motion to approve the 2018 budget.
I move we approve the 2018 budget for all funds.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go ahead and do a motion for all of those, to approve the following resolutions related to the budget.
I move we approve the resolutions listed associated with the budget.
Thank you, Jill.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Nancy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's move on to the personnel update.
We're gonna skip that. We're gonna skip this personnel because I just timing. It's only been a few weeks here. This is an early board meeting, so we'll wait until November to do those. And it's really not a busy time anyway, so we'll just kind of put all those into November. But I do have a few highlights. September count day was 15th, and so we did certify that with the state, and then we're just kind of reconciling those numbers and finishing that up. Flu shots will be offered to all employees on the health plan at no cost. This year we have partnered with Walgreens, and so the local Walgreens in Beech Grove will actually administer those flu shots. And so those are free for all employees on the health insurance plan. And I think that starts the day they come back from fall break, and then it'll last about a month actually for open. We received a federal grant in conjunction with Community Health to have albuterol for asthma, EpiPen, which is an allergic reaction drug, and Narcan. And those will be for free provided to us, but I need a resolution and an approval a little bit later for that to be allowed to be in each one of the nursing clinics. And Brandy Beichman just does a phenomenal job looking for money. And if you didn't know, she also is instrumental in putting those AED machines in every building, and 2 in the high school, 1 on both ends. She does a phenomenal job and really looks out for our kids. And I believe those 3 drugs, those are emergency right now type of drugs to allow for the paramedics to get here. So we have people who are licensed and trained to do all of that. So you know much more about this than I'm explaining, but she does a great job for us. And so we'll have a motion to put that in there a little later. Open enrollment for health insurance started on Monday. So people will be able to look at all of their health plans, dental, vision, AFLAC, and all the other Section 125 opportunities that are out there. And we do have an online process now that's open for 3 weeks, and then we have professionals here from AFLAC actually who stay here for a week on campus to help anyone who has difficulties. So that automated process has really turned out to be a very good process for everyone, in my opinion. And the final thing, background checks. We're following the Indiana state law that requires that everybody in the district be up to date and within 5 years of background checking. So we're asking another group of individuals to, and emails went out this week. It's $17.99, but I think it's something that's a good situation, and we're monitoring that. We partner with somebody called Background Investigation Bureau, and it's another online process, and they get a nice card that says they're approved to work with kids. And so that's kind of a nice thing, and that also goes along with our volunteer program that we instituted. We use that same program to do background checks as well. So
I have a question about that.
sure.
Do you feel like we need to have background checks on us? I mean,
We did.
I think I did.
do you want to have background
Well,
checks
as
done
we
on
move
us?
forward in our work session, that's gonna be our topic.
Okay.
As we talk about a replacement, talking to Michelle Cooper, we can probably put that in a packet.
Yeah, we did. We filled out things about background checks.
I don't think I
I
have
have
one.
Probably not
I mean, I'm good to go, but, I mean, you can check. But you know what I mean? I think
Are you
it's only.
sure?
Well, as far as I know.
I think that's gonna be a standard we're talking about. in our work
Okay.
session, not moving forward.
And the online portal is really simple. You go
I
in
did it
yourself.
today, it was easy, it took me like 5 minutes.
Yep, you go in, you type in the credit, just
Okay.
answer a couple questions, and then they run it, and then you get an email back,
I think,
and the card comes in the mail.
Well, you decide you want us to do that.
yeah,
whenever.
just of my
I don't
opinion,
know
and
how
it's
it-
only my opinion, we almost owe it to our corporation, school corporation to
I
actually do
agree.
that. Don't you think?
We can provide
In
that
today's
information
world.
to you. Well, based on what happened in a district not far from here.
Yes, yeah, that's
that
true.
There was someone who was arrested 2 times and the school district didn't know it. And, so.
Oh, that kind of stuff will come out too? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Nick, why'd you leave this?
I'm just kidding.
Edit it out.
That's all I have.
Let's move on to, is there operations update?
Yeah, we got one short update tonight, and I was just speaking with Ms. King about this earlier. We do have some office relocation occurring at this time. One of those changes that impact Mrs. Stevens. Her office will be moving from the HTC down to the lower level of the admin, so welcome to the garden suite level. So she will be my neighbor downstairs.
For 5 years, right?
Yes, absolutely. So she's been invited downstairs. Mrs. Bass has moved upstairs next to Dr. Kaiser. And what that will allow is bringing Chartwells away from operations. They're over in the bus barn with our grounds, et cetera. And so that'll professionalize them more. They'll have more room. You'll see here, this has become an office. So we have Beth Skirvin, who's kind of our Chartwells, Beach Grove City Schools liaison. And then we have Tara, the dietitian with Chartwells. We have Dulcie, and we also have Jackie. So their offices will now be over here. That way they can have meetings with food service people here. It'll help them so they don't have to meet over in transportation where there's really no good areas to meet. And so that's helped us there. Having Melody over at central office will be much more easy to, communicate and more efficient with our
Easier
communications.
access.
Easier access to her, absolutely.
But did I miss where, or is she gonna be where?
She's gonna be downstairs. I'm over in the one end, she's over in the other end.
Okay, are you where our former, not the most recent, but the second most recent? Are you where that person was?
I'm under Dr. Kaiser.
You're what?
Where
I'm
Laura-
under,
where
my
Laura
office
sat.
is under Dr. Kaiser.
You're where
Where Laura
Dr.
sat.
Hammock was.
Yes.
So what is the area where where Kit Collins was?
That's now 2 offices. We split those in half. Mrs. Stevens will be the front half looking out over the creek, and the back half is Mrs. Reeves, our special ed. So Mrs. Reeves is,
I don't think I knew that.
her office is right next to where Penny's used to be, and now Mrs. Combs, our
Which is
new
where
data specialist.
Rita Bass was.
Yes, and now Rita
Okay,
moved
so
upstairs.
now Amy Reeves will be on the southeast side of that room.
Correct.
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Correct.
absolutely.
And you'll be on the,
And I'll be on the side that, with the door that you come in.
Facing the creek.
Parking lot, downstairs.
Yeah, you'll be on the north.
Yeah, be that first
the
office
north.
Northeast.
when you come in.
So that's just allowed us to kind of clean things up a little bit and allow chart wells to have more effective area.
Okay.
Plus, it provides a little more space for operations as they're pretty compact over there also. So it's just kind of been a very positive move, and we appreciate Mrs. Stevens, you know, moving over to the central office will be a good
Well, I
fit
had
for
gone,
everybody.
I've been there a couple of times last week, and I had used the facilities, and as soon as I walked in, I realized that someone different had been in that, was in the area.
Yep,
Is that a good way to say that?
I believe so.
I just knew, I mean, it was very obvious, and very nice touch, but, so.
Well, I think this is all part of our restructuring, as you know. We did not replace Ron. Danielle had kind of built a receptionist in. Somewhere down the road, they'll go in, we might need some more help. And Tom has talked about maybe getting that help over the brakes by pulling in other people. We're not in a situation where we feel comfortable adding another position, but if we do, we have the table downstairs. Cindy used to share down there, so we feel pretty good about our office staff and efficiencies. That's been our theme throughout, and we've kind of done the same thing with offices, so, it's been really good. So you just quickly want to mention about the transportation possible over break that's gonna go on out here.
Oh, yes, over break, we are kind of putting a new fencing system in. We're gonna be adding on to this fence with our new buses. If you've ever seen our transportation lot, it's very busy, it's very tight. There's probably 6 to 8 inches between each bus. So we're gonna be consuming some of this back area. It's gonna allow buses to just pull in and pull out without having to back up. And backing up is a huge safety concern in transportation. So we don't want, we don't want any of our employees hurt or injured, so that reduces that by having a more effective lot. So what they'll do is they'll come down the side, pull around, and there'll be a gate down at the far end. And then they'll just be able to kind of drive through, back up a little bit. After they park, in the morning, they'll just back a little bit, pull forward, and go out the front gate. So it'll really reduce most of the backing in that area and allow our buses not to be so tightly compacted, which will eliminate buses banging other buses. We've got 10 new buses that we don't want dinged up with any damage. And, imagine backing a bus when you've got less than a foot on each side.
With no camera.
With no camera, yeah, it's amazing. It doesn't happen
Cars have
more often.
cameras, and we
Right.
don't have any on a 40-foot bus.
Yeah. So this is really going to help us with that. So that you'll see an addition of fencing added over fall break and restriped, and you'll start to see some of the buses down on the grass area over there be parked at angles. So they'll come in angle park. The morning they'll just back up 3 or 4 feet and then be able to pull off. So they'll be parked by buildings. So like when central buses are ready to go, the first one will pull out, the next one will be right behind it, and they'll just be able to pull out as opposed to having to back all the way up. And so hopefully eliminates a lot of the dangers of a bus lot. So a lot goes into having an effective and safe bus lot. And with our small space, we've really struggled with that, making our drivers safe. If you've ever, the drivers have to kind of walk down the middle, which is not ideal. In fact, it's horrible in terms of safety. So this new design is going to make it much safer. So thank you for reminding me of that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, let's move on to our donations. Could I get a motion to accept the donations that we have this month?
I'll make a motion
Thank you
to
for-
accept the donations as presented.
And someone to second that? I'll second that. Faithful. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so our other business, we need a motion to approve a board resolution to stop and
first part, we'll get that grant. And at that time, we will decide, based on pure dollars, how much everybody gets. But the law now says that if you're highly effective, over effective, then you get 25% more. Last year, we just gave $1. And then if you're, needs improvement or ineffective, you don't get the spot. So, again, because of the timing of it, we have to have it out, and then their paycheck within 20 days. So it's the, we talking about 18th or?
19th is a payroll.
19th of December. So, to facilitate this, and we're just asking you to delegate that to us. Plus, we have to take money off the top that goes to C9, based on how many kids we have in C9, and the same thing with Bryce Learning Center. So, we haven't even figured out, C9, we've got that figured out based on how much money. SMAC becomes a little bit more, Southside Special Services becomes a little bit more complicated, because there's more than just teachers involved. So, Tom and I are working through that with Lil down there. So, we're just asking for permission to let us figure this out and pay our teachers and our staff for their hard work.
I'll make a motion.
Janice?
I'll second.
Nancy? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then the last one is a motion to approve the school district calendar for 18-19 school year.
I'll move.
Jill, we have a second.
I will.
Beth? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, just a couple more. We need a motion to approve the overnight and out-of-state field trips. April, and the second.
I'll second.
Janice? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then, motion to approve the fundraising request.
I'll make a motion.
April?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next thing is the ABM update.
Very quickly, I sent this out yesterday in an email. We are semi-official, let's call it. It's 3,215. That's up 42 from last fall, but more importantly, it's up 39 from last spring.
What's that number again? I'm sorry.
3,215. I sent this out yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm sure with your busy schedules, you may not have a chance to look at it. I sent you the capacity chart. We intentionally did not take as many kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. And if you look at the numbers here, you can actually see we're down 16 at Point Park. Looks like we're up a whopping 3 at Central. And even at, so we're
members and families here. That would
Typically
be
think,
exciting.
isn't that pretty nationwide too?
Yes, having been looking at houses for my daughter, we looked at 35 homes, and many times by the time we could even get an appointment in Franklin Township and Perry Township where she was looking, they were sold. And again, driving on Beach Grove, some of these nice brick houses you'll see around town, not even just brick houses. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes not more than 2 weeks when they're sold. It's a good thing. So.
Well, part of our family is, they're going to relocate. My brother-in-law has been a retired Army for about 15 years, has numerous properties in the Alexandria, Virginia area, and he's chosen to retire, and they've bought, she has purchased, because she has dual citizenship, so she's purchased some big villa in San Miguel, Mexico. And they had, I think it was about 150 properties to sell in that area. And they have a little bit higher numbers than what we have around here as far as what their selling price is for. He had his first 50 sold within a 1-week period.
So that's the idea.
Okay, so let's go on to our policies. We need a motion to approve the additions to board policies from the September 12th meeting work session.
I'll make a motion to approve the policies.
Thank you, Rick. I'll second. Thank you, Faithful. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then the next thing is committee and committee reports. Yep. Oh, you know what, let's go back to attendance policy. I forgot to look at
I sent this out Sunday or Saturday to you, to a Google Doc. Thank to Tanya Reed, who kind of worked with me. I took her policy, which was a lot of our board policy, again, as we talk about transfer kids. And Aaron, I'm gonna ask you, I know we had a kindergartner, first grader that missed a ton of days already. Can you remember that number of days? It was pretty astonishing, off the top of your head.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but Liz and Mary came over and helped me run a report today so that we can see any of our transfers that have more than 10. I can't remember off the top of my head, I think 30-some.
Yeah, 30 days at least for a
Well-
kindergarten who's a transfer kid.
I was dropping off Henry's shot record, and Tanya pulled me aside and said, hey, we needed to talk about this as a board to take a look at, and I knew that she was gonna talk with Dr. Kaiser about it, because they had a kid, and this was 5 weeks in to the grading period that had already missed 20+ days.
And that just, quite frankly, that comes down, that's not fair to the kid.
No, it's not.
Even if it's a high school kid, sometimes they don't have transportation, but, it's not that we're trying to kick kids out. But when, because of parents, they're not coming to school, a kid has missed 30 days, that's an injustice. At least if they're back in the home district where they live, they can walk out and hop on a bus. And as much as we like him here, as we already talked about, it's just really not fair to the kid, to the student. The kiddo is not
We have a 10-day letter already drafted, and then we have a second violation, then we have a third final warning. So it's.
So they'll
it's
have ample warning.
They'll have ample warning, yeah.
Due process. so
And
they
lots
have-
of support.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes,
the other thing,
right.
there's so much support provided.
Yeah.
Do we send the letters like certified or something to make sure that the parent can't say, I never saw it, I never got it never got into my mailbox?
So when we get to the second and then the third warning letter, before we move into Child Protective Services
Mhm.
or educational neglect or the Marion County Prosecutor, you know, those kind of things, there certainly is documentation with a certified letter.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just
Kind of what
wondered.
Shirley was doing before when she was going out and visiting families.
It's important for us to offer opportunity to find out what is going on.
Right.
There are a lot of situations that are family situations and things that they might need some intervention because of McKinney-Vento, socioeconomics, other things going on as well. But at the end of the day, it may be exactly what Dr. Kaiser said, in the best interest of the child, that they do attend their home school. But every case is very individualized, very specific, and that's why the homeschool advisors, the building principals, administration, everyone works as a team before we just, stop services or make a final recommendation.
Now, are we more lenient on kids who live in the district?
No,
We
I wouldn't
shouldn't
say
be.
that.
No, we
No,
don't.
we don't.
Okay.
The only difference, we can't just kick those kids out for attendance. We go through the process and then we go to educational neglect. And so, we just can't say you got them since they live here and they can't. So the process is the same, but the difference on a kid that's outside the district, we can draw a line in the sand and say, it's time to go back to your other district.
So do we specify that in the board policy? One is for in-district, one is for out,
Yeah,
transfer students?
it's spelled out in the policy I sent you. It talks about the Beach Grove kids, our current policy, it states that Indiana code, it states, 5 days, 10 days, and we've always followed that. Now we're taking the same policy and we're saying, okay, now, if you get to 10 days as a transfer kid, then you're up for, out counseling back to your own district if the district continues.
And
So
is there-
that's where the demarcation comes.
Is there also a different criteria for, let's say, kindergarten to 6th grade versus 7th grade to high school or something?
We're gonna leave this to the building principals to work through,
Okay, just
and-
asking, you know me, I've always got a
So,
question.
For example, at the high school, we might be a little more, I guess, lenient or,
Mhm.
only because, they're the court may break down, and there's a lot of things that happen with that. But the other thing that's really positive is I looked at Daniela, next year we take transfer kids, we can ask for attendance records. The new law
Good
allows
idea.
us to do that, whereas in the past, we could only ask for, say, have you been expelled or suspended or had a weapon? Now with the new law, we can say, we want a copy of your attendance from your previous school. And then, since she's the queen of transfer students, we'll kind of look at the same thing. I mean, she'll look at it, hand it to me or hand it to Steve, and we'll say, no, we're not taking this kid, they missed 30 or 40 days.
Gotcha.
We don't have to take
Not
it.
worth it.
Where in the past, they went in the lottery and they just got picked. So now we can not admit them into our pool, based on attendance.
That's great.
Are any sort of special circumstances looked at that? And the only reason I bring that up is absenteeism has many different things.
Yes.
So, I mean, if a child was being bullied and was staying home and moving to a new district
Absolutely.
could give them a boost.
Yeah.
Are things like that going to be taken into consideration if they're brought to our attention?
Daniela she has heard more stories, because when they come in, a lot of times I'll come out and meet and greet them, and they lay it all out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they do.
They'll tell us, I'm coming here because I was bullied at X, Y, Z different places. I mean, they're courageously honest, in all fashions about why they're coming here. Is that true?
Are you
Daniela?
writing a book,
I've probably
Daniela?
heard every story plus some.
Oh, I bet you have.
So, yeah, so absolutely, we're gonna look at that, and, sometimes it's the kid, there might have been domestic violence going on, and that's why they missed school, or, mom had to, dad left, or mom might have left, and the 8th grader had to stay home and take care of the little preschool kids. I mean, there's just so many facets that we have to look at, and we do. So, that's why we don't wanna come up with saying, okay, at 12 you're gone, or 13 you're gone. We wanna say at 10, now we start the process, the principal's or homeschool advisor, they're gonna come to point and say, it's really in your best interest to go to your homeschool.
I mean, to think that it only couple, 2 hours maybe?
Hour and 15 minutes.
That's good.
Rita had her lesson in basic design along with Mary. I mean, we were down to it, and there was so much excitement and buzz in the room. And that's a summary of it. And we'll spend some time before the next meeting trying to do almost like a consensus grant, but
I mean, to think that all that information was gathered in that short amount of time.
yeah.
It's good grouping and good facilitation, getting them up and
Yeah.
moving, but they were tired.
Yeah.
They were really tired, that group, because there was so much discussion in it.
Any board members, any other comments? Janice, you were there.
It was really good. It was very interesting. I loved the group that I got to be with Aaron, actually. And we kind of got to know each other better, too, during the conversation and kind of feel one another out about different things. And the parents were really involved, and everybody was
And
really.
I know the people
it was
that
good.
I had asked if they would be willing to serve. I think that sometimes, you know, in some situations, it seems like, you know, it does just take, no matter who it is, but somebody just to approach the person and ask them. And because I know that all four, they really seemed excited that they had been, you know, not asked, but to see if they would want to serve on something.
Absolutely.
And it's short term, and they learned a lot of information. It was kind of nice because I actually had 2 husband-wife teams, and they were all 4 split up, so it was really kind of nice, and they enjoyed that. So,
There's one thing, as I looked around the room, that I didn't do as good a job of, is having some business connections. I've since solidified Mike Pence, who'll be flying in from Washington DC, or maybe just here in Beach Grove.
you mean the other Mike Pence?
The good Mike Pence that we all love from Beach Grove. And then we have Bruce By's going to serve under Mayor Buckley. And so if there's other business people you'd like me to contact, or you would like, I think that was one thing we didn't have enough of.
Jim Kaufman would
Yeah,
be a
that
good
was the
one.
first.
I've invited him, I've not heard back from him.
Who?
So I'm going to
Jim
go make
Kaufman.
a personal
I was
visit.
just gonna say, I just
Yeah.
saw him today, too.
I sent him an email and have not heard back.
And I
I
can't
I
remember
taught
her
him
name,
something today.
the woman that owns Rustic Root.
Okay,
She is really a
I'll go
positive, she
make that
loves
visit.
this town,
okay.
even though she's
She'll
not
send
from
you her
here.
name, I should know it.
It's Tammy Hannah.
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
So we'll go, anybody else, because the more people we have involved in business, especially some of the long-term things we've talked about, they can
Frank was
really.
there.
I can ask Frank. So, yeah, anybody else, or if there's any other patrons that you know that, you know, we missed the first time, we'll send an invitation out to any of their parents.
The pizza place.
Yeah, we had over, ballpark. We had over 50 people involved show up, and
That's
some
good.
had some commitments, and so we're excited about the next 3 meetings, and we'll have a draft, and like I said, this is just the start. We have scheduled to hit all 5 buildings, to put the plan out there, to talk about it, and then at May 6th, we'll ask you to approve it, and then the work might really begin on some long-term things, but we really want to vet this with the community, we'll get it out. We've got stuff on the webpage, we'll put this on the webpage here shortly after we kind of fine-tune a little bit, and the video of it, we videoed, and Nick and his team are gonna be hopefully getting that to us, and we'll send that out even through the point blast, or at least the link, and we wanna get everybody involved in the process.
And I have mentioned too to a couple of, several patrons, whether they have transfer, or whether they're transfer students or not, but, I think the date is November 20th, is approaching us very quickly. It would be the community Thanksgiving dinner night.
Yes, yes.
And, you know, they seem so excited that, you mean, we can come, we can bring our whole family? Yeah, yes, it's a great thing, and there'll be some wonderful turkey napkins.
Yeah, yes. It'll be good.
That's a side note.
So I want to thank everybody. I mean, the meeting of the night was well organized.
Yeah.
And Steve and Rita and Mary and all the people involved, it was wonderful, so.
So, just a reminder, our next strategic committee meeting will be October 24th at 6:30 in the Hornet Training Center.
We're gonna be in the cafeteria. I didn't change, that's my fault. Yes. That is my fault. Yeah.
Is the December one, are we not having a regular board meeting? In December?
We may have a motion or two based on what we need to do budget-wise, but that's normally kind of a celebration.
Okay.
So we figure we'll just celebrate with everybody.
Okay, sounds great.
So, yeah. Tom, I have maybe a few
days left of the school week and then 10 days of fall break.
Well, for
Much
some.
needed time off. Do what?
I don't get a fall break.
So that segues into our, board members and superintendent success stories. We have fall break to look forward to, any other success stories or anything else anybody wants to share?
Mr. Gephardt brought up Job Spark, and I just want to tell you it was a really wonderful thing. I've talked to lots of middle school aged kids, my own, his friends, kids that came in with shirts to the library, and it was really a motivational day for those participants. I think it was time well spent. I think it gave insight into opportunities, but also it gave a really good opportunity for kids to interact with adults, because some of our kids don't have that option to interact with adults and sort of a professional sort of environment. And I think it's great, and I think it's wonderful that we're looking at continuing to do that program, but it was really exciting, and so I think that's a big kudos to jump on that.
I also met with one of our high school students, sophomore, whose birthday is October 27th, just in case you wanted or needed to know that. And yet that age is kind of, sometimes they feel different about themselves. I was at the farmer's market today, and his mom was there. He was there with his mom. He was sitting in his car, the window rolled down and everything, and he was just kind of leaning halfway back. Well, I had to sort of walk across, and I just looked and I said, "You guys, you really look tired today." He said, "I am just so tired today. I've just had so much work I've had to get done, and my life is so stressful." And I'm thinking, you're 15 years old. You don't know what, life stress can bring. He said, all these people just keep telling me I need to decide what I want to do with my life, and I have this kind of like a job coach person, and this and that and everything. And he said, but I really like that I get to talk to somebody on a regular basis now about what I think I might want to do, what my interests might be, and what I think I might want to do as a career. So it was kind of neat to hear that. And then I finished paying for my stuff, and he went back to his car. He got it back out of his car and came up to where I was paying for this huge gray pumpkin that I like. It's really a gourd, but it's a big gray flat pumpkin. He came back up there and asked me if he could carry it to the car for me, and wanted to let me know how much he enjoyed me talking to him.
Excellent.
And I thought, you know what? That is a success story. That makes him really, it made him feel really good about it. And he said, now I want to make sure I have your name right. And you remember my name, don't you? Yeah, I remember. Yes, I remember your name, but I'm going to go write it down, so it helps me reinforce that. But, and then we talked about that tomorrow was Community Service Day, and he said, I'm not sure what they're going to have me do. I don't know if there's really a lot that I would be able to do, but, so it was just kind of, it's great. It's so great to see that side of our high school, of our kids. Because you just, a lot of times, don't know what they're really thinking. If they're not the basketball player or the, whatever it might be. If they're not in a lot of extracurricular activities of sorts, then the lay people in the community don't really know them necessarily. But it was just a really nice conversation. That's why I was late too, so. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Any other success stories anybody wants to share?
Not so much a success story, but if everyone could please keep the Osborne family of Beech Grove in their prayers. 6 kids lost their dad Sunday morning in a tragic car accident. There will be some fundraisers going around Beech Grove. I know there's going to be one at Vinny's Barber Shop the following Sunday. There will be one at the Beech Grove Bowl